My parents claimed they couldn't afford to take me on vacation. Then I saw my sister's kids flying first class. I stayed silent, but a week later, their smiles disappeared. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. Growing up, I was always the other sibling. Not the golden child, that's for sure. I was never the one getting praised at family dinners, I was just there. My sister Sarah, though, she was the superstar. The perfect daughter, the loving wife, and the devoted mom of two adorable kids. My parents practically bent over backward for her. And me? Well, I was Daniel. The dependable one. The guy who never asked for much, paid his bills on time, and somehow always had a bit of extra cash whenever a family member needed it. It all started innocently enough. "Danny, could you help with the electricity bill this month?" My mom asked once. "Your father and I are a little tight." I had just landed my first real job, so I happily chipped in. Then my sister called. "Liam needs braces, and it's just so expensive," she sighed over the phone. "I know you're doing well." So I helped out again. It went on like this, covering bills, shelling out for unexpected repairs, buying school supplies for my niece and nephew. "You're so lucky, Danny," my mom would say with a smile, "you don't have all the responsibilities like Sarah does." Lucky? Yeah, that's what they called it. I told myself it was fine. I mean, they're family, right? Plus, I wasn't exactly struggling. I didn't have a wife or kids or any big expenses. But there was one thing I really wanted: travel. I've been dreaming of seeing the world for years. I'd saved up, made lists of places to visit, imagined myself wandering through cities I only knew from pictures. Yet every time I got close to making it happen, something came up. A family emergency, an unexpected bill, a guilt trip. But then, I finally did it. I booked my dream trip to Italy. Paid every cent myself. I didn't tell anyone, my little act of rebellion. There I was, in the airport, about to board the plane, feeling that mix of nerves and excitement. And then I heard my sister's voice, "No, Liam, put your backpack down. The seats are huge, you don't need all that stuff." I turned and there they were, Sarah, my niece and nephew, my parents, all in the priority boarding line, laughing and looking relaxed in matching vacation outfits. First class. For a split second, I thought I was seeing things. My parents, who couldn't afford a trip for me. My sister, who always said they were tight on money. I took a deep breath. Maybe they saved up for this trip. Maybe it was some kind of miracle. Then I heard my mom laugh. "Oh, I still feel bad we couldn't take Danny," she said, shaking her head. "Please," Sarah snorted. "He wouldn't have fit in." They all laughed. A sinking feeling hit my stomach. I clenched my jaw as their boarding group was called. I didn't say a word. Just watched them waltz into first class, completely unaware that I'd seen it all. In that moment, something shifted inside me. I didn't text them, didn't call. For the first time ever, I let the silence linger. Normally, I would have checked in, made sure they were okay, but this time? Nothing. And it felt good. Italy was everything I dreamed it would be. Walking ancient streets, sipping espresso in tiny cafes, standing before the Colosseum, I made it happen for myself. I should have been happy, and I was, but each night on my hotel balcony, watching the city lights flicker, their laughter echoed in my mind. He wouldn't have fit in. Landed back home a week later, and that's when the calls began. First, it was my mom. "Hey sweetheart, how was your trip?" She chirped, overly cheerful. "It was great," I replied bluntly. "Oh good, good. Listen, your dad and I are wondering if you could help us out this month. Just a little extra for groceries, you know how things are." I let the silence stretch, then laughed, a sharp, bitter laugh that slipped out unplanned. "Groceries?" I repeated. "You mean like the ones you grabbed on your way back from first class?" Silence. Then a nervous chuckle. "Danny, that was different. We had airline miles saved up and Sarah found a great deal." "Don't," I cut her off. "Just don't." "Sweetheart, it's not what you think," my mom stammered. "We would have taken you if we could." "But you could," I snapped back. "You just didn't want to." Silence again. I could almost hear her scrambling for words. "We didn't think you'd mind," she murmured. I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. "You didn't think I'd mind?" I repeated slowly. No apology, no guilt. Just a casual admission they never even considered me. That's when I made my decision. No more bills, no more handouts. Enough. You know, I was done just being the extra kid in the family, the one who was there to make everyone else's life easier. So, a couple of days later, my sister called, and I almost ignored it, but curiosity got me. I picked up and went, "What do you want, Sarah?" Instead of saying hi. She shot back with, "Oh, so you're too good to answer your own family's calls now?" I couldn't help but grin. "Oh, first class must have really rubbed off on you," I teased. "Danny, are you seriously upset about that?" "Grow up," she snapped back. I took a breath. "I'm the one growing up, that's why I'm done playing caretaker," I said. There was this awkward pause, and then she switched to that sweet, fake innocent voice she uses when she's scheming. "Danny, come on. You know things are tough for us. You don't have kids or big expenses. It's different for you." I just said, "Right, and I still helped out with Liam's soccer fees last month." She replied like it was the most normal thing in the world, "Well, yeah, because you always do." I calmly said, "Not anymore." She paused again, and then laughed in disbelief. "Wow, you're serious," she huffed. "You're being such a selfish little," and I hung up. For once, I felt free. The peace didn't last long. By the next morning, my phone was bombarded with calls and messages. My mom was first. "Daniel, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this isn't okay. Families help each other. Call me back." Then my dad, "Son, don't be dramatic. Your sister and the kids need your help. Be reasonable." Sarah chimed in too, "Are you actually ignoring mom and dad? Wow, you think you're above us now?" I ignored all of them, made some coffee, and chilled on the couch. It felt great to have zero requests thrown my way for once. But by noon, their guilt trips turned into full-blown panic. Mom called again. I let it go to voicemail. Then came a text, "Danny, please, we have a problem." I rolled my eyes. Another crisis for me to solve, right? Then she texted, "It's about the house." That got my attention. I sighed, debating if I should just ignore it, but that nagging part of me gave in and I called her. "What now?" I asked right off the bat. Mom sighed dramatically before saying, "Daniel, your father and I didn't want to worry you, but we're behind on the mortgage." I was like, "And you're just telling me this now?" She insisted they didn't want to bother me, but now they need my help. I scoffed, "You mean you want me to pay it?" She quickly said, "Just this month, just until things settle." I leaned back, thinking it was funny they could afford fancy tickets but not their mortgage. Silence. "It wasn't like that, Danny." I cut her off, "It totally was. You splurge on Sarah's kids, but when it's about your own son, there's nothing left." She snapped back, "That's not fair. You don't get what it's like to raise kids." I replied coldly, "You're right, I don't, because I was too busy taking care of you guys." Silence again, then in a softer tone, she said, "Danny, we need you." They needed me not because they cared, but because without me, everything would fall apart. "I know," I said, "but you need to figure this out without me." I hung up and didn't feel guilty. The next few days were oddly quiet. No texts, no calls, no guilt trips. For the first time in forever, I was truly free. It didn't last though. On day 3, Sarah showed up at my place. I heard the knocking before even checking my phone. "Sarah," she called out. I took my time answering. When I finally opened the door, she stormed in. "What's wrong with you?" she hissed, slamming her purse down. "Excuse me?" I raised an eyebrow. "You know what I mean," she snapped. "Mom's a mess, Dad's freaking out, and now I'm left dealing with all this because you decided to have a meltdown." I crossed my arms. "You mean you're finally dealing with it?" I said. She rolled her eyes, "Oh my God, don't be so dramatic. They need help, and you're punishing them because you're jealous." "Jealous?" I laughed. "Yes, this is about the trip, isn't it? You're mad we didn't invite you and now you're throwing a fit," she accused. I shook my head. "You really don't get it, do you?" She scoffed. "Oh, enlighten me," she said, and I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. "Hey, calm down, Sarah. It's not about the trip. It's about how I've been the one keeping this family going for years, covering bills, helping with your kids, and paying for emergencies, while you, Mom, and Dad acted like I didn't exist unless you needed money." She crossed her arms, saying that's not true. "But isn't it?" I asked. "When was the last time Mom called just to check in, or Dad asked how I was? The only time my phone rings is when you guys need something. I let it happen because I thought that's what family did. But then I saw you all sitting in first class, laughing about how I wouldn't fit in. Her face fell, so I continued, saying this isn't about the trip. It's about me realizing I was never part of this family, I was just your safety net. And I'm done with that. Sarah's mouth opened and closed, she had no comeback. Finally, she grabbed her purse and said, "Fine, do whatever you want, but don't come crawling back when you realize what a mistake you've made." I smiled and told her not to worry, I won't. She slammed the door, and for the first time, I felt free. After Sarah's dramatic exit, I got ready for the next round. My parents aren't the type to let things go, and I knew they'd try something soon. Sure enough, Dad texted me the next day, "Daniel, come over for dinner Sunday. We need to talk." I almost laughed because "we need to talk" is family code for "we need you to do something for us, and you're going to say yes." I had fallen for it so many times before, not this time. I replied that I was busy. A minute later, my phone rang, I sighed and answered out of curiosity. Dad started, sounding firm but trying to be reasonable, "Enough is enough. You're acting childish." I leaned back on my couch, asking if that was so because it seemed like I was the only adult from where I was sitting. There was a pause, and then he sighed, "Son, you're making this harder than it needs to be. We're family. Families don't abandon each other." "Abandon?" I repeated. "You mean like how you left me at the airport?" Another pause, and he said, "That's not fair. We didn't mean anything by that." "Maybe not," I said, "but you did not mean it either." There was silence, then Dad shifted the conversation. "Your mother is very upset. She's been crying over this. She just wants things to go back to normal." "Ah, the guilt trip."
"So do I," said, "but normal means being treated like a walking wallet, and I'm done with that."
"That's not what this is about," he said. "Then why are you calling me now, Dad?" I cut him off. "Why didn't you call just to check in last week or the week before? It's only when you need money." Silence followed, a longer one this time. Finally, Dad sighed and said, "I don't know what you want from us, Daniel." "Nothing," I said. "That's the whole point." Then I hung up. Next came the desperation phase. I waited for another call, another text, or maybe even an unwanted visitor, but nothing came. It was eerily quiet. Then, one night, as I was getting ready for bed, my phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. "Hope you're happy. Mom and Dad are in trouble because of you." I rolled my eyes. "They'll manage," I replied. "No, actually, they won't," she answered. "They're 2 months behind on their mortgage, and the bank is sending notices. But I guess that doesn't matter to you, does it?" "It didn't matter when you were buying first-class tickets," I shot back. "Oh my God, let it go. That was one time. And it was the one time I saw the truth," I replied. She didn't answer after that. The next morning, my mom called again, so I picked up. "Danny," she sniffled, "we are in trouble." "So I've heard," I said. "The bank, they're threatening foreclosure." I stayed quiet, waiting. "I know things have been tense," she continued, her voice shaking. "But we're your parents. Please, just help us this one last time." "Oh, one last time," the exact phrase they used the first time they ever asked me for money. "No," I said simply. "Danny," she pleaded. "No," I repeated. "You made your choices, now you get to live with them." She shifted from sadness to anger. "You were being selfish," she snapped. "After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? Done for me?" I laughed bitterly. "Mom, name one thing, one single thing you've done for me in the last 5 years that didn't involve asking for money." "Nothing. Not a word." And that was my final answer. "Good luck, Mom," I said and hung up. When the smiles finally faded, a week passed, then 2, and finally, I heard the news: Sarah had caved. She had dipped into her savings to help our parents. So here's the deal, my parents were suddenly in a tight spot, something new for them since I used to handle everything. But now, my sister Sarah had to step in and cover things like the mortgage, utility bills, and even some gnarly credit card debt that had been piling up. And honestly, it wasn't going great. A friend of mine spilled the beans that Sarah and her husband Mark had started fighting over money. Apparently, Mark had no clue how much my parents leaned on me for support, and now that Sarah was stuck dealing with it, their finances were taking a hit too. Their perfect little bubble? It was bursting. The easy smiles? Fading away. As for my parents, they were finally getting a taste of what it meant to struggle without their trusty safety net, aka, me. And let me tell you, I felt free for the first time in forever. The silence from my family stretched on for weeks. I half expected a flood of desperate phone calls or guilt-tripping visits, but nope, After Sarah's last bitter message, everything went radio silent. I wasn't naive enough to think it was over. They weren't talking to me because they were too busy dealing with their own drama. Meanwhile, I was living my best life. My paycheck was mine to spend, no more sending chunks of it to bail out my parents or pay for Sarah's kids' school stuff. I finally bought that high-end espresso machine I'd been drooling over and redecorated my apartment. I even booked a trip to Japan, a place I'd dreamed of visiting for ages. And guess what? I was spending guilt-free, no nagging texts or emergencies to handle. It felt like stepping into a whole new chapter where I wasn't just an ATM for the people who were supposed to love me. Then, things got real. One night, I was just scrolling through social media, and bam! I saw a tagged post from one of Sarah's friends. It was a photo of Sarah and Mark out to dinner, but something was definitely off. The caption said, "Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Hang in there, Sarah." Her smile looked super forced, and Mark seemed like he'd aged overnight. I was curious, so I clicked over to Sarah's page. All those happy family snapshots were gone, no beach trips, no fancy birthday parties, nada. That's when I got a surprise message from Kelly, Sarah's friend. She said, "Hey Danny, I feel weird reaching out, but things are bad for them at home." I paused, fingers hovering over my phone. "Why are you telling me this?" I typed back. Kelly answered, "Because I know how much you did for them, and now that you've stopped, everything's kinda falling apart." Then she sent me a screenshot of a group chat with Sarah and her friends, and it showed exactly what Sarah had been saying about me. Sarah wrote, "Danny's just sitting there watching us suffer, like we deserve this. I had to drain my savings just to keep mom and dad afloat, and they're still sinking. Mark's angry, too. He says it's their fault for relying on Danny in the first place. If Danny doesn't come crawling back soon, I don't know what we'll do." I couldn't help but laugh at the crawling back part. She still thought I needed them more than they needed me. A week later, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't pick up but decided to answer at the last second. "Hello?" It was my dad. I hadn't heard from him in over a month. "What do you want?" I asked, keeping it cool. He sighed and tried to talk about how we needed to patch things up. But really, he didn't get it. After all these years, he still thought it was about a vacation. I told him it was about me finally setting boundaries and not letting them manipulate me anymore. After some silence, Dad tried to lay it on thick, saying Sarah needed help. But honestly, I was done playing their game. I couldn't help but laugh. So now Sarah needs me? She's in over her head, and Mark's thinking about selling the house. The kids are clueless about what's going on. Honestly, it's not my problem. "Daniel, be reasonable." "I am," I replied, cooler than ever before. "For once, I'm being totally reasonable." There was a long pause before my dad spoke again, his voice going ice cold. "So, that's it? You're just walking away?" "You walked away first," I shot back, reminding him of that day at the airport. More silence followed, and then finally, a sharp, bitter fine, and he hung up. That was the last time I ever heard from my dad. I figured my mom would start pleading, but she stayed quiet. Sarah just stopped messaging me altogether. A month later, a mutual friend mentioned that Sarah and Mark sold their house and moved into a smaller one. My parents downsized too, letting go of the cushy life they were so used to. They had acted like they were better than me for so long, pretending they didn't need me. Now, they got a taste of life without me, and I felt free, not just from the financial burden, but from them entirely. I didn't owe them my success, my money, or my forgiveness. So, I took a deep breath, blocked their numbers, and never looked back. For the first time ever, I was living for myself, and it was amazing.